Hey everybody, it is Napalm Dawn here on G4G doing a video today, October 3rd, that man, I am truly surprised that I'm going to be doing a video on this. So what you see on the screen right now is not gigantic here in the year 2023. This is the first video I had done on gigantic way back in the day when the Xbox beta was live. If you had an Xbox, you could play it, and then eventually it would come over to Windows through the Arc client. If you were doing it, I think on Windows 7, but if you were doing it on your Xbox, you could still do it there. And I don't think it ever came over to the PlayStation. It's kind of a confusing mess. The game was produced by Motiga in conjunction with Microsoft, and then Microsoft let it go, and Perfect World Entertainment picked it up. That's when you could go and do it over on the Arc client and everything. But if you're not familiar with Gigantic, it was a wonderful third-person shooter that had this really cool art style that I think people have tried to emulate it since then. And some games come close, but it was a really beautiful game at the time, very unique art, a lot of fun characters that, even though they sort of in some ways fit into tropes, a lot of them felt very unique, and it was a odd hybrid of a third-person shooter and essentially a MOBA. You had a bunch of games at the time that competed in the same space as Gigantic. So you had Gigantic, you had Paladins, you had Battleborn, and you had Overwatch. Now, which ones of those four lean towards the MOBA aspect of it is up for some debate, but for the most part, Overwatch kind of turned into a juggernaut that wound up shitting on a lot of its competition. Oh, and Paladins. I think I meant, yeah, Paladins, Battleborn, Overwatch, and Gigantic, were the four of them kind of coexisted in the same space at around the same time. A lot of people blame Overwatch for destroying a lot of its competition. Battleborn had released like a little bit earlier, and then Overwatch came around, and some people said Battleborn was dead due to Overwatch killing it. People point to a lot of Paladins and Overwatch comparisons, but Paladins still exists, and being totally free to play, it is able to do some things that Overwatch initially didn't do. And there's always infighting back and forth as to, you know, does this character take from Paladins, or does this character take from Overwatch? But Gigantic was unique in the sense that it was a very, very mobile light. You didn't have mobs, you didn't have creep or anything like that. You had choke points around the map where you sort of set up like a tower defense kind of thing. And that was really the only MOBA aspect of it. I mean, they're kind of lanes, but not exactly. It was a path, but nothing went in those lanes other than the players. So to call it a MOBA, not really. Some Battleborn modes, however, were definitely MOBA-esque, where you were escorting mobs or creep, and they were bringing the gems to the crusher, and you had to escort them so the enemy team didn't kill them, so that you could get your gems crushed and get your resources, blah, blah. Anyway, Gigantic, after going over to PWE, Perfect World Entertainment, which is kind of known for mismanaging games quite often, we were like, oh, wow, the death knell is going to eventually ring to these guys. And sure enough, it did. And Gigantic was shut down. Now, something very interesting happened today. I heard a Discord ding while I was at work on my work computer, but I'm working from home today. And I usually keep Discord muted on my work computer, so I'm not at work and somebody's having a crazy Discord conversation. Everybody's like, what the hell is that ding? So I heard the Discord dings going off in my house from other computers, and I looked at my standard channels that I typically expect to see activity, and it wasn't a friend message. It wasn't activity in the channels I typically look at. It was way up in the 2 servers I have for Old Gigantic, Gigantic Heaven and Go Gigantic. I was like, that's odd. Why am I getting a ding from there? And I clicked on it, and chat was going nuts. I mean, losing their fucking mind. A whole bunch of yeses, let's go, let's fucking go. And everybody's going crazy. I'm like, what? This is an odd amount of activity going on for Gigantic. What the hell is happening? And I looked, and apparently people were like, Gearbox is doing something with Gigantic. Gearbox is doing something with Gigantic. And I'm like, whoa, slow your roll. And I'm like scrolling up to try and find things. And people were saying that over on Twitter, there was a Twitter release that Gigantic is going to come back for a playtest 1 day only on October 5th. But apparently under very, very heavy scrutiny. No screenshots, no streaming, no videos. Just a 1 day event, which in my guess is to see who's going to come back and play it, how stable is it, are people going to enjoy it. And now, knowing that Gearbox is the one sending this stuff out and not Motiga, there's a high possibility maybe Gearbox is testing the waters to try and see if they can bring Gigantic back and if people want to play it. And is it fresh and relevant? And my answer will be God fucking yes. Gigantic doesn't age. You can't, I mean, the quality on this is not that great because essentially I was streaming my Xbox to my PC for the recording. My later videos are made directly from the ARC client, so they look nicer than this. This is, you know, a little low res, but you could see here, this was some of the original loadout of characters, like Paco was missing, Laser Sword Lady, the other guy at the end, but you had like Beckett, your sort of general soldier character with the double guns, the jetpacks. This was Imari, I believe her name was. She was a sniper. I played her a lot. I think this is Gnosis. This is Margrave. This was the guy with the small pets. This was a robot that operates a lot like Bastion in Overwatch. Very, very similar. This is Trip. He's your kind of stealthy, high movement, high speed guy, sort of like a Zeratul in Heroes of the Storm, or a combination of like Sombra Tracer in Overwatch. This is the kind of goat pan guy with the bow, sort of a Hanzo-ish character. I played him a lot. He had a clone, poison arrows. This is the martial arts frog, who I believe was kind of like a tank character. His kick was like overpowered for a while and got ratcheted back. This is a kind of Draconid or like dragon human that is a mage. A lot of stuff with fire. That's Griselda, a mage with a staff that would like go into the ground and pop up and smack people. This is Sven with different alchemical potions that was a lot like Pip in Paladins. This little thing I don't remember, and I think, is she the one who's like Vasari or something like that? I think she's a little bit like Moira in Overwatch. I think like a Shadow, or I kind of forget. It's been a while, but there's characters missing from this because this was very, very early on. They added several more. As a matter of fact, there's also another page. There's the lady with the ghost knight who protects her, Ailing. I think she's on page 2. And I forget who else is on page 2. I should flip over to it shortly. Yeah, Lord Gnosis. I think I go into each of the characters. Oh, there. Okay. Yeah, it's on page 2 is Aisling and the slithery, shadowy, like, snake lady who does orbs and everything. Taito the Swift. Yeah, I just saw it pop up. Anyway, so Gigantic may not be back for everybody. But if you have had a ARC client So Arc is PWE's little universal game installer. But if you have the Arc client, you're going to get an email that says confirm your credentials, and it will come to the email that you used to sign into your Arc client with. So I checked my mail and it was there. Some people said it was in their Sussy Baka folders or their spam folders, but check your spam, check your folders. If you have an email account that's tied to the Arc client, go check that email, and you may have an email from Arc that says you've been invited to do this little one-day test thing. And it says confirm your credentials. You go and do it, and you're like, okay, your Arc client is confirmed. Here are the details. Thank you for the limited invite-only throwback event for Gigantic. Your account has been granted access. It begins October 5th at 12 o'clock Pacific time, so 3 o'clock Eastern time. Be sure to log in with this account, as access is only available to invited accounts that have accepted the closed Gigantic playtest agreement. And then I re-downloaded my Arc client because I removed it a long time ago. As you can see, old Torchlight and Torchlight 2 is there. And there's the install button next to Gigantic. So, at least for a day, and to me it is unfortunately a bit of a shame that it's on a fucking Thursday. I would like for it to be, on a Friday or something. I mean, Friday's a remote day for me. I'd be playing it Thursday. I'm unfortunately in the office, but yeah, I'm going to be coming home and absolutely checking this out and seeing what this is like. Gigantic, like some games like Rusty Hearts, Nosgoth, Evolve, Marvel Avengers Alliance, and some others, have had some homebrew communities, and I think even Paragon for a little while was doing this, Marvel Heroes. There are some homegrown ways of playing the game. Unfortunately, with Gigantic, the team that had been working on it, I think it was called Project Stamina at the time, there was a splintering happened over there. Things got a little disjointed, and the teams went and sort of there was some dramatic stuff happening, and I believe the team kind of split. Some people going one way, some people going another, or maybe there was just a person who was like, I'm taking my ball and going home, and I like, all this belongs to me, you can't do it. So yeah, the community fractured, and a really good homebrew release never quite got off the ground. But I do believe there is a way of getting onto a private server for Gigantic, and there is no matchmaking. You sort of make the match ahead of time in Discord and then jump in and play. Nosgoth has a pretty solid homebrew community where you can play Nosgoth again. Evolve, there he is, HK206, or like Bastion. Nosgoth is back. Evolve is back. If you had it on Steam when the game was live, you can play it again. There is matchmaking there. Rusty Hearts has got a forum where you can download it and play an online instance of Rusty Hearts again. So, I mean, a lot of games have life after death. Knowing that Gigantic may have the opportunity to come back, yeah, if you have an Arc account and you've had an Arc account for a while, check your mail. If you have the Gigantic invite, get in there. Absolutely hit the servers that day. Let Gearbox know, like, yes, there's people who want to play this game. Please go ahead and bring the game back over here. So, yeah, absolutely go and do this. Sorry for the pause over there. I was like trying to pause the recording, but it didn't go. Yeah, if you have an Arc account, get in there, check your mail, get in there on the 5th, this Thursday, play this game, play it as much as you can that night, really bombard them with a showing of people and quantity that, yes, there's people who want to play this game and they're interested in it. Voden, that's the Hanzo-ish character. He was really fun. I used him a lot in the beginning. I used HK towards the end of the game quite a bit. Never really used Paco. Paco was a very cute character. He was sort of like a abominable snowman, very frost-based tank, slid around on his butt a lot, making ice slides and everything. HK is a little bit cheesy. He's like a Bastion. He can be overpowered if left alone. Voden was a fun archer with the poison and the clones. There's Wu. This guy was, if I remember correctly, towards the beginning of the game. All right, it looks like I was wrong that he was a tank. Apparently, he was really strong because he could kind of knock you up and get you off the ground. And then he had some pretty damaging combos over there. Let's see if Charnock, that's the dragon flame guy. Sort of a mage character, very flame-based. Didn't really use him much. Uncle Sven I did use. I healed off of him a lot. Fire Flask, Acid Flask, Healing Waters, yeah. I was a pip player in Paladins quite frequently, so making the transition into Sven was pretty easy. There's Mozu, the little gremlin. She had is it a she? But they could, I think it might be a she. She had the double wands, kind of arcane based. Vidasi. Okay. Yeah, so Vidasi was a healer that had sort of like Zen, sort of a little bit like Zenyatta from Overwatch with the orbs, but most of what she was doing was beams. But there was another character, Griselma, not Griselda. Oh, it was kind of close. She was weird. Like her staff would like go in the ground and pop up, and she would do things with portals. Zenobia, yeah, sort of like a shadow priest. I used her quite a bit. Drain life and heal yourself. Okay, sort of like a shadow priest / warlock. That's where I was kind of thinking the healing was coming in from. It's not that she healed other people; she would heal herself. And, you know, similar to Overwatch, you have abilities that have cooldowns and use mana. And then you had ultimates that had long cooldowns and everything. And let's see who else I jump into. Aisling, she's the one who has the Ghost Knight that comes out and certain abilities. Kador. And let's see if we actually get into some gameplay. Yeah, so this was like part of the tutorial. The basis of the game is that you built up points, and when you built up enough points for your side, your large creature would take off and get into a clash with the enemy creature, and you would either support your own, or if the enemy creature was coming after yours, you would try to defend and support them by protecting them, or you would push with your own and go on the offensive. You would have these choke points on the map where people would spend their resources to spawn creatures there. If you killed them, then you could take over the point, and you had the ability to summon different types of creatures that do things, like one would make a heal when you would come by. You had upgraded ones, sort of like dragons and everything like that. This was that's the bloomer. That was the healing one, if I remember correctly. So it was sort of MOBA-esque in its style of doing things as compared to, say, Overwatch, because of the choke points and everything. But again, like I said, it wasn't really lanes. They were just different paths through it. Yeah, that's the small little Drake thing. That was a fairly solid creature. And then they all had upgrades, level 1, 2, and 3. I believe. And here is, yeah, that's the big dragon. These things were tough. I didn't see them too often in matches, but yeah, it was a really fun game. As you could see, it sort of has a cell shaded look, but more vibrant and cartoony than say like Borderlands and everything. Just a very pretty indie art style to it that looked just really cool. And House, oh, I forget what the two houses are. I think one of them, the evil one is Deva, but I forget the lion griffin thing's house name. I have the wallpaper actually in my wallpaper rotation, but I've forgotten their name over there. And then you had those fortune cards that you would open daily and did different things. But yeah, I'm absolutely excited to see Gigantic come back. And I know that when I get out of work on Thursday, I am running straight home and firing up my Arc client and hitting play and getting in there. So yeah, check your mail, install it today or as soon as possible, and then I will see you on the Gigantic Battlefield on Thursday. Take care, everybody.